Have you ever felt like you hit a brick wall in SketchUp? Well, I've literally hit a wall. I'm designing this file and I need to figure out how to create a smooth, sloped retaining wall onto a stepped contour model. So let's take a look at how I can do that using Artisan 2. First thing we need to do is take a look at the file that we're working with. Now I have a lot of it done. So I have the building done. I have the trees in context. I have the topo itself, but I'm kind of stuck with this retaining wall. And a couple ways we can approach doing this. So first way is I'm going to take the flat CAD geometry and using Sandbox, I'm just going to go ahead and drape that down onto the actual surface. From there, I'm going to open up that geometry and you can see here I have the faces on that. And if this was a stepped wall, I simply could probably just begin pushing these up to create the desired look and feel that I wanted, but I don't want it to step. I want it to be nice and smooth curving up. Let me undo that. And instead, what we're going to do is use a couple tools in Artisan to clean this up and make it work for us. So the first thing I'm going to do is select these faces, which are going to represent the retaining wall itself. And then I'm going to group them. And then I'll go ahead and open that group up. And now I have a bunch of faces. From here, I'm going to select all of them. And I need to move each plane down so that we're all on the same plane. So I'm going to go ahead and use Make Planar. So when I click that, it's going to select all of the faces. And I have a couple different modes that I can choose from and that I may have previously been in. So the first is to change the axis mode. So I can go from world to local to view. And then the other is using tab to switch between a hard selection and a soft selection. So in this case, I want axes mode to be world and I want a hard selection. I'll also press the up arrow key to lock in the blue because I want everything to lock down and move into this plane here. So as I'm hovering over this face, I'll just go ahead and click and now it drops everything down to that surface. Now I don't need these extra coplanar edges. So I'm going to take eraser and just erase these inside edges. And then that way I have one whole piece of geometry. I'm also just going to make sure using view styles, I'm going to make sure that under monochrome that the front face is pointing up. So meaning the white face is up. I wouldn't want the blue face to be pointing this way right now. It just keeps it nice and cleaner. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to push this up. I'm going to turn off hide rest of model since I use that quite often for dealing with geometry. And I'm going to pull this up to where I had the existing CAD geometry because that was a pretty good height. Now, again, if I needed just a stepped model, I would create breaks in here where I want this to step down. But what I really want is this to smoothly and gradually grade down. And what we can also do is we can create our own little breaks. So I'm going to create a little break here and I'll do another one here. And those are just kind of safety breaks of where and how I want this top surface to kind of fold or slope down. And we're not using any of the Artisan sculpt tools, so I'll actually close that out. But we are in the next piece going to be using the subdivision tools. Before we use the subdivision tools, we need to begin moving this down. So I can select this end edge right here, turn hide rest of model back on so we can see it in context. And then I'm going to click Artisan Move, but I want to make sure I'm in the soft selection mode. So I'm going to press the tab key on my keyboard and you can see the soft selection is set to 10 inches. 10 inches isn't very far in this model. I need something a little bit longer. So let's try 10 feet and hit enter. So 10 feet, as you can see, is a little bit longer in that soft select, but it's only getting to here. So probably need to triple that. So let's type 30 feet. And there we have it. 30 feet is going to get us right about to there. So now when I click on this edge to begin moving it, it's a soft selection, meaning they're gradually going to move down with the object. And what's really nice is I'm staying in the blue, but this can freely form too. So you can kind of really slide this wherever you want. You can also press up arrow to lock in the blue as well. In addition, if that 30 feet was too much or not enough, you can use the left and right brackets on your keyboard, and that's going to change the soft selection. So I can right bracket to increase the radius and left bracket. So here, this is looking pretty good. It's getting a little bit too far there. I can bring it back. Say right about here is pretty good. So you can see it's starting to soften here and then pull this down. I think that looks pretty good. I'll then turn hide rest of the model back on just so we can see what that looks like underneath. And you can see one of the limitations to this is it will also soften the bottom as well. So if we need to flatten this, we can use Make Planar again. But before we do that, let's select all of this. We'll right click and we can do one of two things. We can soften and smooth edges and soften coplanar here. That just kind of cleans everything up. I actually like using Bevel to do this. So I'll bring up Bevel and select all this geometry and then use auto soften and smooth. You could also, if you want before, you could do clean edges. It just is going to remove any of those artifacts, but I'll do soften first and then clean. And you can see it actually deleted several of the coplanar edges. And now with that clean, I can orbit underneath, select this bottom face, click Make Planar. So see, as I'm doing this, this is an error unintentionally. Because I had soft selection on Make Coplanar, it's recognizing connected selections to that. When I click Make Coplanar, I want to make sure soft radius is not turned on. So I'm going to hit Tab. That way it's a hard radius edge. And then now wherever I click, it's going to flatten that. Now, one other thing that we can do, let's say on this piece here, I want to make this a nice cap to it. I'm going to select the top by double clicking. I'll group it, open up that group. We just have the face. I can't push pull a curved surface, but I can select it and use Extrude Faces. So I'll click Extrude Faces. There's a couple different modes. I'm going to use the group mode right now. So I'll click on the face and it'll begin pulling that up. And what you could also do is you could press Alt to switch between modes. So this is normal, that is individual, this is group. In this case, group works best. You can also tap Shift, and that enables free mode. And what I would want for this is I want to press the up arrow to lock in the blue. That way these are moving just up vertically. And then I'll type in 2 to give it a 2-inch cap. And then I'll select all of this and clean it once again. And I'll look around for any odd geometry. Looks pretty good. Make sure also my faces are all pointing outward. That all looks pretty good there. All right, so this is now flush with the wall, but I want it to overhang 1 inch on each side. So I need to extrude it in those directions as well. And this is where two parts of Artisan work really well. One is I'm going to select the initial vertical piece here, and then I'll use Artisan Select to then right click on that and select quad ring. Selecting the quad ring selects all of the faces around those quadrants so that now I can click on the Extrude Faces. And then when I click on the face, I should be able to pull this out. Now I'm going to change the mode by pressing Alt and switch it to normal mode because I want this to extend outward. In this case, I want it to extend out 1 inch and press Enter. Now it does create all this additional geometry. So I'll select all of this. I'll do Auto Soften Smooth, and I can even do clean edges, but it's pretty low poly, so it's okay just kind of having that little bit of extra. And now if I close out of that, close out again, I can give it a material and give the top a material. And now I have my retaining wall. Let us know how else you're using Artisan to create retaining walls like this, or use it in your other architectural workflows. Thank you for watching. Be sure to subscribe to mind.sight.studios channel for more tips and tricks. You can also visit our website to find other extensions like Sketch Plus, Profile Builder, and Placemaker. Continue your SketchUp journey by watching one of our videos here on the right to learn more about what we offer. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.